Charles, this is the calmest protest we've seen in Washington Square Park in a long time.
That's right. Moscow on the Dnieper.
Right.
Deeper and deeper.
I saw that movie in the theaters back in the day.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was definitely a time where almost every single movie in the United States was like anti-Soviet Union propaganda,
right,
in one way or another. It's changed quite a lot since those days, the nature of propaganda and what we're being told, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really amazing. First, a compliment to the art department for another great poster. I mean, when you look at those posters as a suite, if we could ever do that, you know, rotating through a television screen or something, it's just it's remarkable, the body of work. And this recent edition, thanks so much for it. It's really great. I like it.
Thank you. But let's explain to people what we mean by depicting President Dumb, Joe Biden, his former boss, Barack Obama, and the dreaded former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. Why did we include them in the image today, Charles?
Well, I think this has been a long-term project to...
What has?
To steal as much money as possible, pretending that you're in government service. I mean, this is what people do around the world, and in particular, they've been plucking the carcass of the Soviet Union clean since about 1991, if not earlier.
Yeah.
And we want to go that way, I think, right?
Yep.
And it's a bipartisan exercise. I think one of the reasons that folks, Democrats and powerful Bushites and Cheneyites are doing this is they don't want us to go over and figure out exactly how much money the Harvard professor Jeffrey, when he was, I think, a Harvard professor Jeffrey Sachs and others, working with Soros and Mark Rich and the major banks, how much they stole in privatizations, not simply in Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union, but also in Western Europe. There's a gigantic amount of money was actually stolen by mispricing these assets and letting cronies get, we don't want to whatever you call it, letting cronies, insiders...
Photobomb, we're not firebombing anyone.
There we go, look, stop money put. They don't want the attention focused in the way that I might do it, which is to take every single privatized company, which would be easy to do, get somebody to make a list of them, and then say how much were they bought for, who bought them, how much were they sold for, and how much of that money then was filtered, the profits was filtered back into the pockets of leaders, be it H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, W. Bush, Obama, even especially Biden, and it's particularly disgusting. I mean, I haven't spent any serious time in Russia. I'm just there for an afternoon once on a snowmobile, but for sport, in the middle of nowhere, high up above the Arctic Circle. But I've spent a lot of time in Ukraine, and been all over the place by flying, by car, and interacted with lots of different people in business and academia, just ordinary people. And I've got a lot of time for the people of Ukraine. I'm sure the people of Russia are also very nice and interesting. It's the cronies, the insiders, the corrupt globalists who are smoking too much opium and selling vague plans and projects to the people as requiring tens of billions, now hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, and stealing as much of that money as they can. So Hillary, for example...
A lot of weed being sold around the park today, Charles.
Yeah. That guy. I've seen that guy around, the boxer. He's in very good shape, and in summer he's constantly, practicing. But a dreaded institution and a dreaded individual, the Atlantic Council and Victoria Nuland. I sent to you the Wikipedia entry on Victoria Nuland. And this is a person who's been a pain in the ass her entire life. I didn't realize that her father was Ukrainian.
It's an interesting wrinkle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, let's give people some background on who she is and what she has to do with all this stuff that's developing in Ukraine.
Well, she's the Undersecretary of State for Politics. And why we need an Undersecretary of State for Politics what the hell are you doing? Are you intervening in political contests around the world? Are you also intervening in the U.S.? And we look at her background. She went to Brown. She went to Choate Rosemary Hall, which is actually where Ivanka Trump went. She graduated in 1979, and then she went to Brown. And in the Wikipedia entry, the first 10 years of her adult life,
Not accounted for, right?
there's no mention of what she was doing. I mean, I wonder. Let's get away from the city. What?
Well, let's head wherever you want to head out of the park.
I was thinking we go up that way into the East Village, where I think you're going to see. We do one more circuit around, then go up. An idiot coming high speed through.
We got people riding at high speed through the park.
Show people a little music. Original music. It's not bad, actually. It's just spontaneous. I don't think that they're playing anybody else's music. That's their own.
Doesn't sound Ukrainian.
They don't look Ukrainian either.
But that's okay.
So quite colorful, quite a lot of people there. But anyway, back on Nuland. She first surfaces in '93, working on the Clinton White House or the Clinton administration in some staff job. Then she's a career foreign service person, and she ends up working for Dick Cheney on his staff, specifically on the Iraq War. So she's takes credit for that marvelous mess. Let's keep going. And then we'll go.
You always hire people who screw things up the worst.
Consistently screw things up. She goes from that into the Barack Obama State Department, I think. And before long, she's in charge, Undersecretary of State for Europe and Central and Eastern Asia, or Western Asia, or something like that, where she has line responsibility for relations with 50 countries, but focuses a lot on Ukraine through the whole Maidan mess and basically picking who would be installing the government over there.
There's even a leaked phone call where she's talking about preferences for that, and obviously very involved in it.
Right. My starting premise would be that the United States has no fucking business meddling in the external affairs of any country, and particularly in our internal affairs, which is what it would appear the Barack administration did, likely with the connivance of key Republicans. Let me go up this way.
But the cops now showing up. They weren't here when we arrived.
There were some, but not this many.
Not like this.
Yeah, well, I think they're getting ready to if these guys go walking all over the place, they want to be with them.
We've got to be texting, too. That's important.
It's important, yeah. So you saw that the Russian troops in Ukraine were trying to arrange Tinder dates, according to the propaganda.
I heard that, but I just don't believe anything that we're hearing.
Right.
Not to interrupt the Victoria Nuland tale, but we were talking just now while we were waiting to go on air. The other day when this began, I went to look at RT to see what they were saying in the face of U.S. media, and it was not available. I figured the United States had shut it down, but then I looked at it the following day, and it had one of those CAPTCHA, I am not a robot things that was a DDoS, dedicated denial of service
defense mechanism
attack. Yeah, this was a defense against that. And then I went and looked at it again today, and now you can't even get through the DDoS protection.
Very loud.
So it seems to me that somebody is hacking the RT website, and we've been spending the last 4 years or whatever hearing about how Russian hackers are the best in the world. How could their RT website get hacked if that's the case?
Yeah, well, if I may, let's just get done with this. I'll forget. We'll finish on Nuland, the Atlantic Council, but this project of working together, multiple nations, to subsume the national interest of any one nation to the wider interests of an Atlantic Council or a globalist group of any kind, it's just a rubbish project. I mean, if we've learned anything with the advent of the internet and...
I need to interrupt you and draw your attention to something.
What?
What do you see over there, Charles?
Telephoto camera?
Yes,
lens?
That's a remarkably long lens on that camera. I wonder if the person who had attached it to that camera has reason to expect something that would cause them to stand this far away.
It could be, yeah. Well, they're stopping people to interview them, I think.
Not on that lens.
Yeah, well, they are now.
Thanks for coming down here, you guys. won't be very long.
And there's two more
Well, anyway.
staff people over there, Jason.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're probably from some Canadian television channel. But this whole project, the Atlantic Council project, is an odious thing. They have deep ties into the corrupt media. Of course, the corrupt media loves conferences and councils and pundits and
Who's a
dimwits.
fellow at the Atlantic Council?
I have no idea.
The chief technology officer of CrowdStrike, Dmitry Alparovich. Anti-Putin. Is he Ukrainian or Russian?
I have no idea.
He's definitely a fellow at the Atlantic Council, and they were the ones who investigated Hillary Clinton or the hacked server instead of the FBI.
Right. Well, in the case, so Hillary writes this screed, co-authors it with some idiot, and gets published right away in the Atlantic, which I think is owned by Steve Jobs' widow. And this screed actually Hillary encourages it, uses the phrase "threatens our democracy" like 47 times in this piece, and her brilliant idea is that we should cyber attack Russia. This is a woman. It's amazing. It used to be in the 60s. As a child, I remember as a young teenager in '69. I remember the flower people were all about peace. They weren't about let's bomb those fucking commies into the Stone Ages, right?
That's the least problematic aspect of it. What the fuck? Sorry, what does she know about cyber attacking? That's like putting me as the coach of the San Francisco 49ers.
You'd probably do a much better job than she would in military strategy. But yeah, here's this is a person who's she's like Biden. Every instinct this person has, Hillary Clinton, is wrong. Everything she touches is wrong. It's very valuable. Unless you're married to her or the daughter of her, because you just know right away that's not the right thing to do. So are you in this club?
No, I'm not.
I keep talking to you about this Torch Club. I can never remember the name of it. Does seem like a pretty ominous name. It has images of burning things like books and torching the opposition. And
I renounce NYU. I went there.
You have to say
fun.
it 3 times that it's legal.
I renounce NYU. I renounce NYU.
There you go. Okay, you've now renounced it. You don't have to wear those purple gym clothes anymore.
And Clinton infected leftists.
Yeah. So Victoria Nuland, in her Wikipedia, she's basically any major disaster that the United States has been involved with recently. She was in the center of it, and to cap her career off. I think she holds this post while she's Undersecretary of State for Politics. She is the general practitioner, or something like that is her title, the grand wizard of the Brady Johnson Grand Strategy program at Yale.
Did she go to Yale?
No, but she was awarded this, and that's Nick Brady, who is the Brady piece of it.
Why?
Yeah, he gave money to. To hear his side of the story, I knew from Dylan Reed, is that his father went to Yale, and he went to Yale, and his family had been big donors to Yale, but when time came for his 3 sons and his daughter to think about going to Yale was like, fuck you guys, we're not going to take any Bradys. And so, and they weren't particularly good students except for the daughter.
But wait a minute, they gave money to Yale and then they wouldn't take the...
Standard.
So what did they say about all the money they gave? They must have been pissed.
Well, in theory, you're not supposed to, there's not supposed to be a direct link there. But anyways, so Brady decided as he got older that he gave money to the squash. He was on the squash team, so he helped modernize the squash courts. And then he gave, I don't know how much money for this Brady Johnson Grand Strategy thing, which is
Where are we going here?
We're going to go up that way. Well, we're trying to find some sun. Going across.
It's up that way, yeah.
So Victoria Nuland holds that title, and again, why you think that you can learn from the dynamic duo. You got idiot John Kerry is a visiting professor at Yale.
There's that LiDAR car again.
What is it?
It's somehow, I don't know, mapping New York City. It's a Jaguar I-Pace with a bunch of LiDAR stuff all over it.
What is LiDAR?
laser imaging. It's radar that uses a laser instead of radio.
Oh, here's that guy, Buzzy Gadul. He owns the Donut Pub. I guess he's opened up another.
Oh yeah.
Another location.
But Charles, what LiDAR does is it allows you to make a three-dimensional point cloud of everything around. So
Wow.
like a super accurate 3D model of, I guess, New York City. I've been seeing that thing driving around. And also a lot of new donut places. It's really strange.
Yeah, the Donut Pub, there used to be only one location.
Oh my God, they look great.
It's vegan, is it?
No, I don't want a vegan donut. No. Oh man,
Let's go get out of the way.
Forget it. I want a regular donut.
Oh yeah, I want the nasty donut. I don't want gonna have a donut, you may as well have one
Well,
that
that's where we
does all the
disagree.
wrong things.
No, my donut, I would want it to be, free-range chicken eggs and, butter from a grass-fed cow and that kind of
It's
stuff.
like having decaffeinated coffee.
No, it's not. It's having the most quintessential version of a donut you could possibly have. I don't want fake crap in it, but I don't mind if it's got, real
All right.
sugar and tastes delicious
All right.
and fat.
We can agree to disagree on that one. I just
I
think
bet you,
I don't like donuts. at all.
whatever it is that you would want, if I made one out of all natural food versus whatever crap is coming from a place that doesn't care, the natural one would be better.
So you're saying, for example, my bastardized version of Kraft macaroni and cheese in a box, you're saying is going to be worse than your...
Absolutely, the taste
okay.
would be worse, but here's the difference. The Kraft one would sit in a box for a year or whatever, and if you cooked it on the first day or the 364th day, it would taste very similar. But the thing that I would make would last and be good for a day, and then it would start to deteriorate rapidly.
Okay.
Anyway, back
Good
to
to
Nuland.
know. Back to Nuland. So yeah, I mean,
Look at this. Where are you going? This is good questions for everybody, Charles.
we're not waiting for you. That's
Wow, that's like the New World Order is saying that.
about the artwork. This is the Starbucks where I used to write my Washington Times columns. I pulled it before I knew you. I had I suppose it's a Charles Ortel work rule, which is, the work will expand to fill the time allotted to it. So
Right.
I had to get the topic approved Friday, and then I would just work on it for 4 hours on Sunday, and 4 hours only, and I just get it done.
Do you know what I just realized, Charles? This is, I guess, a high-end apartment building,
Very nice one, yeah.
but it's stuck in the middle of a neighborhood that something like that really did not belong in until pretty recently.
It's been around for quite a while. It's been around since 2008 or earlier.
It's true, but in the 90s or whatever,
Yeah, it was-
nothing like this
I
would
know.
be here.
Or that. I mean, they've changed
Right,
the
that's
whole
what I mean.
zoning. That's Epstein's brother, I think, was probably involved. He was,
Well, it's interesting because it seems to be what's happening now to the rest of the city, isn't it?
again, I mean, places grow up. I don't know. The problem on Manhattan is the quality of the ground underneath may or may not support some of these large structures. So in the village,
A problem.
well, I know where I live, next to me, there's a river running underneath the buildings.
What?
Yeah. Quite, I mean, I know because the two neighboring townhouses have been dug below the basement, and I watched it happen.
And they hit water?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you have to go pretty far down.
What about oil, Charles? You could dig for
That's
oil.
right.
Call Fabian.
Well, we sort of did that. I mean, I didn't
In
do it in
Paris.
Paris. Well, the team that we backed found oil under Vol Vicomte, which is the famous. It's a palace, I believe, that was nicer than Versailles. And the king went to the opening ceremony and he thought about it for a second and said, oh, wait a minute, how does my finance minister have enough money to build something nicer than my palace?
Right.
You're going to jail, dude.
Off with his head, right.
Let's see, what is this?
Notice
Notice
New York City cleanup. What is that?
beginning never, there's no date, a cleanup of this location. What are they going to clean?
Good thing they don't have a date on it.
So we want to go over to
Sure.
2nd Avenue, I think, or thereabouts. We can go along 8th Street. Yeah, let's go along 8th Street because that's, it'll be shops and you can relive your experience in the jury trial.
So you were talking about Nuland.
Yeah, so Nuland is just an epic disaster and instigating trouble, I think, in Ukraine. And we know that we know, because it's been publicly disclosed, that Doug Schoen and Monica Crowley Doug being a Democrat operative, Monica being a Republican operative, both were in the employ of Pinchuk, Viktor Pinchuk, the Ukrainian oligarch.
Who are those two people?
Doug Schoen was a pollster for the Clintons, and I don't know if he still is a Fox contributor, but he's a very smart guy with Mark Penn. They had a polling firm. And Doug went to Horace Mann a number of years ahead of me, and then he went to Harvard College and Harvard Law School. And Monica is I know her, a nice lady who has a PhD in something or other, and has written a bunch of books. I forget what it is in. It's like in history or maybe political science or something. But she has gotten into some trouble. There are allegations that maybe she plagiarized some things. But in real life, she's very pleasant and been on the political scene for a long time. But she too was working for Viktor Pinchuk, and why would you do that?
Well, and don't we have pictures of Pinchuk hanging out with Bill Clinton, oogling?
Oh, absolutely.
Ladies. And so what did Pinchuk do exactly?
He married the daughter of the former leader of Ukraine. And he's a businessman who claims to be a billionaire with interests all over the world, including in the metals field. I think he sold pipe, some type, to Iran, likely in violation of the sanctions.
Uh-huh.
And he's a shifty dude who's given, with his wife, Elena Franchuk, I think it's his second wife. He might have been married to another daughter of a former president of Ukraine. So here is where Joe Biden is definitely not from. Funky town in the East Village.
What's the pentagram?
I don't know, but there's no funk in him. He's just fucked up.
And then they have a Baphomet pentagram right underneath it.
Nice. I wouldn't be hanging around here.
Right there. What the hell?
I don't know.
But they also have bongs and hookahs, and then right outside they got weed.
This is my friend's liquor store.
Now wait, this was, I think, under construction the last time we're here, but there's a huge number of bong stores.
Now, if you want to get elite piercing, this is where you come. Not for ordinary piercing.
All
elite.
these sigils on this stuff.
Yeah.
So Charles, Putin has put Russian nuclear resources on alert, apparently.
As I believe we have gone to DEFCON 2, is what I was reading.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
I think it's
true.
probably more DEFCON critical than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good thing Biden is at his nuclear hardened weekend getaway in Delaware.
I mean, how outrageous is that? Of all the stupid things that Biden has done, the world's in a crisis unlike anything we've seen probably since the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I didn't even see that. Sorry, dude, I just got hung up on that guy's motorcycle.
You okay? Did you lose your...
It just pulled this wire, it's okay.
But did you lose the phone or anything?
No. But I wasn't even alive then, but now it seems like the danger is so much greater now than it was in 1963.
Absolutely.
And there's been a lot of people, on Friday night, we did a story that a lot of people have caught on to, not necessarily our reporting on it, but other reporting on it, about information that causes people to believe that there are biolabs in Ukraine that were funded by the United States. John Cullen found documentation on the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine website that shows contracts and money going out.
Ukraine flags.
To different construction companies that are working on these biolabs, and it seems to correspond with the areas in Ukraine where Russian military activity is happening.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Ukraine is basically like New York, a lawless place. And unlike New York, people in Ukraine are purchased for a lot less money. People are expensive here, but they also can be purchased. That is to say, their influence can be purchased. And it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I mean, one positive about Ukraine I have from personal experience is that I was on the board of this Indian company, and the company was making light and small injection metal molded parts, which were irregularly shaped. So it's a little bit tougher to make these things, and it's a challenge to ship millions of pieces that are to the same spec all over the place from this Indian plant. And the Ukrainian industry, the metallurgical industry and the discipline is thought to be world-class, if not world-leading. So there are pieces of the Ukrainian economy that are actually really interesting and worth cultivating. I believe we have the light. So
I think Ukraine is also involved in Russian space stuff.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. For the same reason, high-tech metalworking. Absolutely. And so it would not surprise me that people would say science is science, and if they have smart metal scientists, let's do some biological experiments in Ukraine. Here's the Ukrainian national home.
Well, I think it had more to do with just,
lawlessness.
it was a good place for the State Department to
conquer.
to kind of stick its finger in the pie and, get real close to Putin. And I mean, look, Charles, the way I see it, we better get away from this before I say this or people will flip out. Now, did this used to be the restaurant Kiev?
I don't know.
It was right around here. I don't think this was it, though.
I love the way they say "okay" in Ukraine. Okay, okay. What's the line here for?
Well, this is a Ukrainian restaurant.
How can you tell?
The name, the flag, and the line.
But giveaways, huh? God, it seems very attractive. Oh, yeah, this is the one that sells fancy sweets, I think.
This has been here for a pretty long time.
Yeah, it's big. It goes.
Yeah, but I mean, what I believe is happening is that Putin sees what the United States foreign policy has been for the past 20, 30 years. And
You cooperate, you live. You don't cooperate, and you get Gaddafi.
right. And he's looking at Saddam Hussein, he's looking at Gaddafi, he's looking at what they were trying to do to Bashar Assad. He helped stop what they were trying to do to Bashar Assad. That
Right.
didn't work so well. And if you're Putin, you're thinking, all right, I'm next. They're going to come infiltrate Ukraine, put all these bio labs here. They could launch a biological attack into Russia, and then when everybody in Russia is sick and dying and
Right.
popular support for his presidency is gone, they can stage a coup through these types of protests that get disrupted by agitators in the way
Right.
we saw January 6th go and the
BLM.
Maidan Square go, BLM, all that stuff. And then you stage a coup in Russia, drag Putin out in the street and stick a bayonet up his ass like they did to Gaddafi. So if you're Putin, you're thinking, I'm not going to let that happen. And if it gets to 0 hour, I could just push this button. And it's a really bad strategy if that's what Joe Biden's strategy is.
It's called. I think that's the way you pronounce that is tragedy, not strategy.
Right.
But
I
you
mean,
know,
doesn't it seem like it's something close to what they have planned?
absolutely. I mean, I think if we think about the Arab Spring uprisings, the '60s protests,
All the same.
January 6th. They've developed a lot of experience around the world, converting mass protests into sinister activities to serve their sinister goals. And I'm thinking, for example, about the way in which the press was managed over this weekend. We actually have, I've seen multiple different vectors of Putin is mad, Putin is isolated, Putin
Right.
has got cancer, Putin's got Parkinson's, Putin's generals are turning on him, Putin has lost his mind, lost his marbles. Seriously? You're going to say
What
go
evidence?
down? Wait! You're going to go down that tack when we have somebody who obviously has lost his mental
Right.
capabilities. I mean, it's not close. I bet you Putin could answer questions far more cogently in English.
We've seen him do it exactly than Joe Biden could.
Even if Biden had the questions in advance.
Right.
And if Putin got them the last minute, Biden had a week to study, Putin would still do better.
I agree.
It's like those jokes about Mike Ditka. Who's stronger?
Yeah, the Bears are going to go into the Indy 500 with Ditka driving a bus.
That's right.
The
Who's
Bears are
stronger,
going to win.
Ditka or God? Ditka?
Yeah. That was funny little
Bears.
series there.
That was.
George Wendt, I think, was part of that.
That's right. Here we are on 2nd Avenue. This is an interesting part of town. I don't know that we've ever walked
I think we have.
2nd Avenue per se. I think we went this, but it's nice and wide.
I really do enjoy cartoon depictions of King Kong, Charles.
Getting a beer,
Yeah.
getting a reeb.
Well, crushing biplanes. It's Fay Ray giving him the beer.
That's right. It's a blue gorilla. And we
Well-
could stop into Lao Yu's Body Spa
I don't think
right
so.
next to the Top Body Spa. Top Body
That
Spa
looks like
looks
it's
kind of
opening.
out of business.
Juke bar downstairs.
Here we have Little Poland.
Well, there was some talk in the news this morning that, was it Belarus that's maybe getting ready to join the fray, and Chechnya?
Well, no, it's much worse than that. Apparently, a missile was launched. The Belarus has confirmed that a missile was launched from Belarus, striking an airport 90 odd kilometers, I think, west of Kyiv. So that means there's another nation theoretically at war with Ukraine, and that's not good at all. But to see the propaganda machine work, I mean, we have yet to have any kind of analysis of the Ukrainian political parties and what they stand for and what their origins are,
Right.
what they stood for in World War II, as an example.
Right.
And we had no analysis of that. What are their main interests? What are their platforms? We've had no analysis of the degree of corruption in that country. I mean, I was told by many people across a 2-3 year period when I was visiting Ukraine that you cannot trust a Ukrainian resume at all. You just the stuff is in there. Even if even if you confirm with the university that the student went there and got the grades that the student claims they got, there's a possibility that those grades were purchased and the place in the university purchased, because the professors, depending how far back you go, don't make that much money. And so they like money, and so one way to get money is to have...
Right.
And I witnessed that not at Yale, but in my junior year abroad. I was at the school in England, which was an outgrowth of this really, I think, a crooked guy went around to the Middle East and said, so we should go head west, I guess?
Sure.
Went to, this is going to be awfully cold, I guess.
Whatever you want to do, Charles. You want to go further up?
Well, I think seeing 14th Street was probably worth.
All right, sure.
We'll just gut it out. But what he did is he went around, this English guy who's now dead, he went around to the Middle East sheikdoms and said, okay, Mr. Ruler of UAE, if your son comes to Richmond College, you pay me a fee, I can get you in, and you pay me another maintenance fee, and I'll make sure that he doesn't blow extra money. I'll give him a spending allowance, and we'll look after him. And he can transfer to Yale, just like Charles Ortel did, neglecting to point out that I was already in Yale, accepted at Yale before I went to Richmond College. And so he actually built a business up, a substantial business, where he had several hundred students per year fly in from around the world to this college in the outskirts of London, Richmond.
Doesn't it sound a lot like the college admission scandal? Oh my God.
What? Beyond
Kentucky
fried
chicken made from plants.
Well, that's kind of like the school of thought. A chicken is fundamentally made from what it
Chicken?
eats. Oh, here we go. These guys.
Eric Adams will love the rubber chicken plant.
Probably.
Actually, Charles, that reminds me of something. On the way over to the park to meet you, I walked by a McDonald's and saw a sign that indicated that they're trying to compete with their West Coast hamburger, Husker, whatever, the In-N-Out burger, which I don't know if you realize this, but there's all kinds of off-menu items that people in the know can order at In-N-Out. McDonald's was encouraging people to hack the menu.
Hack it.
And order the Land, Sea, Air, which was a burger with beef, chicken, and fish.
Ugh.
But I think McDonald's makes you stupid because chickens don't fly.
Right.
So how is it Land, Sea, Air?
Maybe it's the beef that was
Land,
flying.
Sea, land. Right.
Coyote Ugly Saloon. Not a great name.
That is the thing that inspired the movie Coyote Ugly, but I don't think that's the original location.
I don't think that's the original location
It's
at all.
not the original location, but Coyote Ugly is the thing that inspired the movie.
But was that the name of the saloon?
It was, yeah, because it was the whole thing when I was in college
hilarious.
is that it was about, they had like super sexy female bartenders who would
funny.
like blow a whistle or whatever, and then you get up on the bar and they start pouring liquor into your mouth and
Right. What was the other one though that I did go to that was
pig and
No, it's
something.
another one where people
Hogs and
Hogs
Heifers.
and Heifers. Yeah, I've been to that one. It's probably closed down.
I think it is closed,
But
like almost everything.
yeah. So here
So this guy went around the world getting the sheiks to send their kids to college.
Yeah, and in the same way in Ukraine, I think that there are some the world-class professors in certain disciplines in Ukraine, but there's not enough budget at these universities. Yeah, that looks retail opportunity.
It's a newly built restaurant for lease.
Depicting somebody jumping up in the air. I mean, right next to City MD.
It's a retail opportunity.
You could have like a hamburger joint, and you could go hamburgers and French fries and go directly to City MD. And up here is that hot hamburger chain is gone. See that thing across the street?
Oh yeah, Five Guys.
That was a very popular place.
I think it's too big of a space for them to keep open with less people going there. And then, the other thing I wanted to tell you about, Charles, that we sort of discussed offline, Biden did an interview over the weekend with a podcaster named something Cohen, and they opened, we're literally closer to a nuclear war with Russia right now than probably we've ever been.
Right.
And they opened this Biden interview talking about his Supreme Court pick and how great he is for nominating a black woman. While that is a topic worthy of discussion, it doesn't seem to be nearly as important as an imminent war that could destroy life on Earth as we know it, is it?
It depends on your editor, right? It's probably the most important thing on Biden's menu is changing his diaper. He got that done. He was pretty excited.
He's just totally on the wrong page.
He's down there having his ice cream. Probably giving out pins and medals to some brownie scout troop.
Speaking of brownie, that brown paper causes me to think that they're opening something else inside that restaurant.
This one here?
Yeah.
So
And it's right next to Joe's
definitely
Pizza.
for rent. But the degree to which the propaganda artists have changed the narrative.
It's really astounding.
It's really amazing. The Putin speech, they haven't. Very few places. I think RT. I watched an RT version, which obviously I don't know if you still can, where an RT translator was translating as Putin spoke. And I got to believe the translation is authentic. Maybe not. But Putin laying out his grievances. And it's not like this isn't a shock. This isn't like out of nowhere Putin's decided to fire things up in Ukraine. He's been complaining about this. In December, he made a federal, international case out of it, and he gave a bunch of written questions, which he demanded answers from, and we refused to answer the questions. And so he got up, exercised, and then they answered the questions, and Putin said they weren't responsive, or his team said they weren't responsive. And then he made the one speech where he said, "I'm authorizing the limited military operation." You want to run in here and get some steaks? Shove them down your... Oh, it's down there, actually.
Just steal them?
Do you think there are any steaks left? Hey, can I get some steaks?
Nah.
Like 10? Put them down my pants? And how you can put 10 steaks down your pants?
Big pants.
You got to be a big dude.
So, but wait a minute. So they didn't answer his questions.
And then in the speech where he announced the military operation, he explained why. And then the further speech, he explained
But they
why.
haven't addressed that.
Any of that stuff.
They've just said, "Oh well, he's crazy and he's bloodthirsty."
It's history. He's
but
evil.
the logical question for anyone to ask. It's not like this just This
Right.
guy just came to power and started doing this. He's been around for 20 years. If he's so bloodthirsty, why didn't he do this a long time ago?
And how many wars has he instigated?
Exactly. In the 20 years that he's been around,
And
the
how many
United
have we?
States and various presidents have just. Whoa!
Are you okay?
Yeah. See, this is why I shouldn't have brought this extra microphone.
Let's cross the street while we're
I
here.
thought I might interview people, but now I got that wire hanging off. It keeps getting caught. But I mean, isn't that a logical question to ask, Charles? If this guy was so crazy, wouldn't he be just launching indiscriminate
Well,
attacks on countries all the time?
Thinking how many attacks we've launched. Iraq,
Right.
Afghanistan,
Libya,
Syria. Let's go.
Somalia, they have activity going on. Yemen, they're helping.
We bombed
Saudi.
Somalia on Friday.
I know.
It's like,
And where is everybody protesting that? What
Eh.
about Canada saying, oh, you could murder somebody and just your family can go to the bank and get money and hire you an attorney. But if you park your car in Ottawa, your truck in Ottawa, we're taking your bank account and you're not allowed to have money or food or anything like that.
right, and you got that moron Romney going on one of these CNN shows, I think.
What did he say?
He was asked, how can Republicans, embrace Putin and fail to criticize him? And his response was, "I have morons on my team."
What team is he on?
The Republican team.
No, he isn't.
Well, I'm just saying that's
Wow.
So and I remember getting into not a fist fight because I don't fight people, but at this idea lunch for investors, there was a guy there who claims to be Biden's best friend, and this is quite a few years ago when Obama was president, and he started going on and on and on at the lunch about how it is treasonous for an American to criticize Obama. And I just started yelling at him. I said, "You take those fucking words back. You're smarter than that."
It's anti-American
No,
to say that.
It's absurd to say something like that.
Yeah.
Especially a guy claiming to be Biden's best friend.
Well, no, we see how they operate. This is what they want. Any dissent gets shut down. They don't want American values. They want to be in charge, and if you don't like it, you're canceled.
Right, and to say that you're a traitor if you criticize the government. Who was saying that during Trump? Right. The criticism on Trump, that looks like a protest too. The criticism on Trump was nonstop before the inauguration till today.
Yeah.
You're a patriot if you criticize Trump, but you're a traitor if you criticize Bite Me. I mean, it's
insanity.
And what's that? Oh, those are those black Jews
Is it?
over there. Yeah, they're a bit crazy, those guys.
Aren't those the guys who started the fight with Nick Sandmann? The kid who
Could
was accused of fighting with the Native American, and
Yeah.
CNN said he smiled at him?
Yeah.
Or he was smiling at them and they said he did something. Whatever, that's the kid who sued everybody. But they were the black Israelites or
That's
something.
them over there, yeah.
Well, they're the ones who started the fight. I mean, Charles, as we go around town, we're seeing so many indicators that these Soros-funded type of protests
Shall we check out and see what this
are
is?
cooking up. Yes. And I also want to recommend again, I don't know if you've seen it, but if people can get onto Vimeo and look for Ukraine on Fire, it's a really informative documentary. And I'm not saying everything in it is right. I'm not aware of any errors in it, but if other people are, they could point them out. The thing that's interesting about it is it uses a lot of news footage from people's cell phones and stuff like that, and it seems to be showing us facts.
What is this?
And it's a very interesting, compelling thing. It doesn't seem to be related to Ukraine at all.
April.
Who is that?
Sunday, the 10th of April, 2022. I don't know what this is
I don't
for.
know what that
What is
is.
this for?
The president for AMLO again.
Oh, in Mexico? Thank you.
Huh. Oh yeah, they're wearing like mariachi outfits.
Yeah. And we got Smokey the Bear over there.
Yeah, what is that? That's like park rangers or something.
Yeah.
What are those guys
Very
doing here?
official. Hey, boo boo, give me the picnic basket.
Yeah.
Let's keep ambling.
Yeah.
Just showing the diverse makeup of our great city here. Islam, you deserve to know. Big Bang cosmology in the Quran.
What is that about?
No idea.
feel like it's something we could probably do without.
Islam is the truth. Islam is the truth.
Right, to you.
That guy's a dope.
I actually picked up one of those Qurans once, and they were passing them out in the village, and I think it was being distributed either by Hezbollah or,
Nice.
an arm of, yeah. Now, I'm actually not in favor of allowing terrorist groups to flourish anywhere.
That's a pretty edgy position for you to take, Charles.
Well, there's...
I'm kidding.
I mean, that would make me unqualified to be a lecturer in an Ivy League school, but where they're, the distinguished chair of terror. Wet paint.
So, Trump has been
Vilified.
vilified, but it's also we got CPAC going on, and we've had.
He spoke for a while at CPAC.
I didn't see anything that he said at CPAC, but people have been emailing me and saying that there's apparently some dust-up where people are feeling unhappy about Michael Flynn and maybe coming around to our way of thinking about Mike Lindell and Patrick Byrne. I'm not sure what the impetus for that was, but somebody emailed me and said that the video of Patrick Byrne assaulting me in Las Vegas at the Mike Lindell event after I asked him
Right.
why they were relying on evidence from Mary Fanning and Dennis Montgomery, instead of just saying, I'm not really sure, and acting like a normal person. The
Right.
Ginger Frankenstein, Patrick Byrne, attacked me,
Right.
assaulted me.
Ginger Frankenstein. You got
And,
good, you got
and so,
good,
but
good
now
names.
people, I think, are realizing that those guys are grifters. Except Trump is not realizing that because he's appearing at CPAC. It's very troubling, Charles.
It is. I mean, with Lindell, I mean, I just, one of the rules that I learned in business is that if you're smart, what you do is you start by finding one thing to do, and you do it better than anybody else. And you stay focused on that
It
one
was
thing.
3D for me.
Right, so you stay focused on that, and don't make the mistake of saying because you're really good at this, you can then try to do something that's very different
That
at
didn't
the
work.
same time. And here, I mean, let's give the guy, and I don't, but let's give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say that his pillows work,
Right.
right? The fact that he's now,
Or that they're high quality.
well, let's say they're world beating, that he can actually sell more pillows than whoever's in the better known pillow company, brand name pillow company. But now in recent months, he's gone from pillows to sheets to slippers to now a store where he's allowing other people to sell stuff on his platform, which is
Really?
not a good
so
move.
it's like eBay or Amazon. or
Right,
something.
and now to get into Lindell TV, meanwhile he's advertising. Why he would set up a TV operation but still pay ads at a competitor is beyond me, and it makes me think that his game is really just raise as much money as possible and delay paying his bills as long as possible and hope that someday he manages to actually make a profit.
Or he dies before anybody comes collecting.
Figures it out, exactly. And I have I'm not going to say who the guy is, but I have an acquaintance who died recently, and he was one of these guys in a small town upstate, not Millbrook, but near there, who was a city father. He was on every committee that mattered and every do-gooder society that was operating, and the school board and the country club and everything else. And it turns out that he'd been filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy multiple times and was the subject of an indictment at federal level at his death.
Wow.
And I didn't know that. And the only way why I found out about it, somebody told me he died, and I said, Jesus, where do I send condolences? So I punched his name in,
You
and
find all this
I
stuff.
read this indictment.
Man.
I mean, the signed by the U.S. Attorney for Southern District of New York. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on.
Huh.
So the moral of that story is that I've been to that guy's house, many times. To
You don't
parties
really
and
know.
And you're not necessarily going to know. And also the other moral of the story is it could take quite a long time for the
Yeah.
feds to catch up to you.
Well, they
put
seem
you
to
away.
get paid by the hour.
Well, they seem to, why it takes so long, I don't know. The idea was you're supposed to have a speedy trial, And this was one of the offenses that the Revolutionary War founders were upset about, that the English authorities could come up to Charles Ortel and say, "Come with me," and you say, "Why?" "I don't have to tell you," and then get
Stick
put
you
in jail. And
Don't tell you why and just leave you there.
right, so that was one of the gross offenses that people were really upset about. And that's just what we have with January 6 people. We've got, imagine if the BLM founders, who'd been at those riots that we, Hawk Newsom and a bunch of other people,
Threatening.
hundreds of them, were, actually you had them on your camera threatening to burn the country down, saying that they're not protesting, they're not interested in making America better. Fucking asshole.
See that guy? Just like he had that look. I'm not moving. You two white assholes better get out of my way.
Right. Yeah. I should have just stood there.
You should have, but it would have resulted in him crashing into you and us getting into a fight.
Yeah.
You knew what was up. You moved without me even saying anything.
Right. But anyway, so
That was a test.
well, it happens all the time.
No, I
I bet he walks right across red lights as well. In traffic.
Exactly.
You want to stop in here and get a
Well,
cigar?
I'm surprised it's closed. I've been seeing Popeye's Chicken opening all over. This was like the only one for a long
Well,
time.
Golden Crust is open in case you want me to jump in there and get you some.
No, yeah.
I mean, never a good sign that the window is so filthy.
That's where their
That's right.
free-range Golden Crust.
That's right.
Right there. Is this another weed store? Yeah. Vape, CBD.
Yeah. This is, I think, right around here is where Bernie Goetz lived, isn't it?
Oh, maybe that's where he lived, but did I tell you the story that I met Bernie Goetz? I was trying to get him on the show
It would have been a good Goetz.
as a guest. Well, I actually had a chance to have a pretty lengthy conversation with Bernie Goetz on a subway ride from maybe like 80-something street downtown.
You didn't
and
pick a fight with him,
He
right?
would not allow me to run the camera. He did not want to be on camera, but we had a really interesting conversation, and it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I tell you, something made me proud, Charles.
What's that? No mask?
Well, I wasn't wearing a mask, and Bernie Goetz on the subway said, "You know what? If you're not wearing a mask, I won't wear one either."
Wow.
And I was like, "Hell yeah, Bernie Goetz! I'm rolling with you, man. Anybody comes over with a screwdriver, they're getting."
Here's your Audi. Is that the
That-
expensive one? No?
No. You're thinking about the Audi R8.
Looks
is
pretty
the
nice.
expensive one. But
Everything must go, Jason.
well, I think that's what Putin is going to say.
Right next to the slice. That went.
That was actually not a bad pizza place there.
It is the key word.
I just think it's so expensive to have a corner retail place like that if you're not. I mean, that's the thing. A pizza place like that, I mean, Charles, I think you would probably know more about this. That's the type of business where they're like, all right, we're making, this amount of money per month. But the second you have like a 50 to 90% drop off in foot traffic, that thing's out the window.
Hemorrhaging money, yeah. It could have just been a laundry.
Well,
A lot of those places
probably,
are.
but even so, when you don't have anybody coming in there, oh, this is bad too.
This guy,
This is new, I think, the wings. Actually, this is new too. So these are new things that are coming in. This is a new grocery store? Delivery? Wow, there's a lot of these opening, Charles.
delivering ovens there?
You said delivery only. It's not
Look
open
at that.
to the
Look at
public.
that. What is that thing? The metal box?
That's the refrigerator that they're keeping the food in to deliver to you.
Yeah.
But
Reminds
this is
me
the
of my
second
days.
one I've seen that's a
This
grocery store
reminds
that
me
you
of
can't go
grocery
into.
stores in Kenya in 1977.
Wow.
This place used to be a luncheonette or something.
But I think this is a new version.
It's gone.
Is it? I thought we were opening a new one.
I don't think so. Good Stuff Diner, I think the Good Stuff Diner is gone.
So all the good stuff is gone.
It's gone.
All that's left is the fixtures and some rats.
This block has always been a challenge because you have the gigantic Salvation Army mausoleum over there, whatever that thing is. You wonder what people do in that thing, right?
I was wondering that. What is going on in there?
You know,
Who created the Salvation Army?
you got the McBurney YMCA here. Do you know where the McBurney YMCA used to be?
I don't.
In the 60s between...
Why'd they move it?
Actually, my middle brother went to the school, McBurney, which is, I think, closed. Bruce Wasserstein went there, too. Here we go. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
YMCA. Do you think YMCA gets a cut of that song, YMCA?
Nope.
No?
They could sue Trump. Get on the dog pile.
Boy. So yeah, this is the lights fading. It's actually staying brighter and lighter later
Yeah.
than in the depths in December. We're only 3 weeks away from spring, in
Wow.
theory.
How was Biden's winter of death and sickness?
He's good at projecting, right? Making projections. I mean, he didn't tell us about the nuclear winter.
Right.
I'm going to make sure that your life is completely fucked up.
Are you moving out? Moving in. He's
Just
said
moving.
no.
Real friendly guy.
Yeah, I don't know. He just looked like a guy who doesn't want to be cooperative at all.
Is this the, no, there it is up there. There's the Georgian restaurant. My kid said, let's go. We want to go to this restaurant, Dad. It's Georgian. I said, okay.
Soviet Georgia?
Yeah, Taste of Georgia. There, it's still open. Chama Mama. And here we have a homeless person.
What is RAC1?
No idea. West side, this is your standard approach here. Beg in front of a supermarket. Bunk in here over here.
So Biden took the weekend off despite the biggest crisis since 1960. Putin is mobilizing nuclear stuff.
Well, and this financial crisis is a lot more severe than people have so far begin to think through. I mean, we have
the sanctions on Russia.
Well, it starts really with Canada. The move by Trudeau
Yeah.
to say that you think you have the contents of your bank. No, you don't. In Canada doesn't have on the business side. Jesus, come on.
It's this asshole.
Who is it?
Yeah, it's just the asshole in the Hyundai. It's a woman with a fur coat.
License plate number?
Nah.
So we're going past the original donut pub momentarily,
Did
Jason.
they close it?
No, it's
Open that
still
other
open.
one?
This is the...
Oh. That's the worldwide headquarters. Well, but so wait, so you were saying... what were you saying?
I forget. It's,
Biden's taking the weekend off. Biggest crisis since 1960. Putin's firing up the hypersonic.
Oh, I was talking about
nukes.
the financial crisis. So
Right.
The second you have the precedent in a country that they take your property, that you take the property, private property, the second the government does that, smart people say, look, a precedent has been set in Canada. They've done it once. They might do it again to
Yeah.
get my money out. I don't care. Just get it out of there.
Do you have any money in Canada?
No, I don't. But I'm just saying, you'll. But with Russia, what people don't understand is that when you. This is the original Buzzy-Gadul donut pub. Yeah, guess what?
No vegan donuts there, Charles. So take the money out of Canada.
Well, the problem with this is that in Canada and in Russia, banks are a big percentage of the activity of the private market. And a lot of people have investments, actually, directly and indirectly in Russia. And so when you're now going to go and say, as we've done, the EU tripping all over each other, ban Russia from the access to
and
SWIFT, and now crush the ruble and go after Putin personally and Lavrov personally. I mean, you got to believe Putin is sitting there and saying, okay, I'm now flushing out what people really think about Russia,
Right.
and now we're going to come up with our counterattack. But let's wait and see. Let's play these cards. Let's see what we can get done tonight in Ukraine. But I fully expect that unless, there's a coup in Russia, which could happen, and unless, people are able to get Putin out of there, which it's a possibility, but I think of low probability, what Putin might well do is a plan that would include the following steps. The first is to cut off Western Europe and the United States from all Russian gas and oil with immediate effect. Tomorrow morning, sorry, you don't
Price
have,
would go up immediately.
well, it's worse than that. I mean, how do you keep? Finland relies on Russian gas for 100% of its heat.
Wow.
100, and it's cold in Finland.
They need the heat, yeah.
I've been there in the winter.
It's going to be
freaking
cold until probably April.
or May.
Right.
So you do that right away, and then all the know-it-all, Larry Summers and other people, and the people on CNBC, and they would say, "Well, you can't do that. If he does that, he won't have any currency." So step one is you say, "You know what? I've watched you governments. You say you care about democracy, you care about the values of openness, transparency, stuff. Look how you're treating me.
Right.
There's no trial here. I've made my points. You won't respond to them.
Right.
You're just now going to sanction me, okay? So what I'm going to do."
That's the other one. No traffic supermarket.
Oh, fresh AF.
Just delivery.
Wow. Yeah, this used to be a supermarket.
This used to be the KGB museum.
Huh, next to it, yeah. But what I would do, step two, is I would announce with G a 50-year deal, a 25-year deal, a 10-year deal to supply, to turn the gas, instead of heading it west, send it east
To China.
to China and maybe to India, and say, we've got this historic deal that we've done over the weekend, and it's umpty-ump trillions of dollars over the life of it, and G has agreed to make a
trillion won.
Right, and G has agreed to make money available to us if we need it, foreign currency, so we don't have our necks on the bayonet the way you think you put us. And by the way, the trade between Russia and China is going to be in our respective currencies, so we're going to create a market.
Don't need the dollar.
For international rubles and international yuan. And then I would say, you showed us your true colors. We had a Cold War, for a long period of time. Then when our Soviet Union blew up, careful, you took advantage of us. Jeffrey Sachs, George Soros, Mark Rich, and all those people. You were horrific to us, Browder, and all those people. And so that you stole a tremendous amount of money. In fact, we estimated that it's about this much. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your interests in Russia, BP's 19.5% of Rosneft, and on.
We're going to keep it.
Yeah, you don't own those anymore.
Right.
And these are going to be taken for the benefit of the Russian people. And we will have full transparency that it's not going to be stolen by Putin. It's going to actually go for the benefit of the Russian people.
I think he's going to do this. When Biden announced these sanctions of not having access to microprocessors, I was like, won't they just get that from China?
Right.
It sounded to me like he was.
But
it's like threatening your wife by punishing her by not having sex with her, and then she says, "Well, I'll just go get a boyfriend."
Right.
How do you feel about that?
This is a nice mess.
Whoa, this has been here for days.
I think it's this gentleman's.
I don't know. I don't think so. That's been there for days.
Yeah.
So now you can leave unattended packages on the street for days, could have a bomb or anything in there, and nobody looks or cares.
Nobody cares, right. Well, it's on the east side here, so who cares?
It's on the east side, so nobody cares.
Who cares? Right next to you, but you get a perfect brow. Anyway, so I keep going. I'd also go and I'd say, you like to put bombs and things and strategic bombers and missiles next to the Russian territory. Okay. We've signed a deal with Cuba. We're taking Gitmo.
That's a good idea.
You illegally stole it from Cuba. The Russians and Cubans, we're going to go and we're going to overrun Gitmo. We're going to deal with the prisoners. We may, pay rent. We may invite the people who want to liberate these prisoners to pay us ransom to get it back. We might do that. Or,
That would be wild. I don't think they like terrorists.
well, I'm just saying, well, or we just kill them or whatever we want to do. But we're taking Gitmo back, and we're going to station a strategic bombing force there. We're going to go do a deal with Venezuela. Same idea. We're going to, help them market their oil and modernize their infrastructure.
Right.
And we're going to have multiple bases in Venezuela. And, by the way, in the Middle East, you gave us a role. We're going to back the Palestinians. We're going to make life very difficult for Israel. You think you're relying on our help for the Iranian, in the Iranian nuclear deal? You can fuck that. We're not going to help you at all.
Space station, they said, is degrading its orbit and it's going to crash.
Right into Joe Biden's, one of his 2 mansions, probably. Whoops. Be like, remember, I don't know if you were following back when Reagan asked for overflight to...
and they said no or something.
I think it was France said no, and by accident one of our bombs...
Gaddafi, right.
Yeah, one of our bombs destroyed the French consulate in Libya or something like that. But it was just an accident.
Right.
Here's your KGB thing, I think.
No, it was back there.
Really?
Yeah, this is a new apartment building. Mile-long runway.
Right next to How Noodle.
But it's just the most astounding aspect of everything that's happening right now, Charles, is what you hit on earlier. How uniformly and quickly people who know nothing about this have just fallen in line with believing what they're being told, backing a country they know nothing about.
Well, we'll see. It's not. If I could just finish on the finance stuff. Yeah. So the finance problem is one I remember in 2008. I was in office space with this very nice guy who had a fair amount of money, and he came in excitedly in September of 2008 as the financial crisis was biting. He said, "You're not going to believe it. I tried to wire $100,000 to make an investment in Canada from my account at HSBC, and they said we didn't have any money. We don't have money to give you." Well, because the credit crisis was biting, and he couldn't lay his hands on enough. He couldn't get good value collateral to purchase Canadian dollars to send the Canadian dollars to Canada. So when you get a sudden side swipe or downdraft, as we have, is this the homestead? What used to be the homestead?
It is. Wait a minute, you're right. Where'd the cow go? There it is on the corner.
Huh? But they must be tearing down the building or something. Yeah, work in progress.
We got to go look at that. We have to find out what's happening to Old Homestead.
Yeah, I used to like their hamburger. It's like a monster burger.
The Kobe beef burger you're talking about.
No,
20 ounce.
I don't.
$70.
I don't roll that way. I think Republican cloth coat. I like filet mignon, but I'm not going to pay for Japanese beef.
Well, it's growing in Texas, but do you know who the biggest rancher of Kobe cattle? Well, no longer, but was?
No.
Carroll Shelby.
Who's that? Oh, really?
The race car driver.
Oh, so it's still here.
Still open.
Yeah, okay. Vaccination card to the man.
We're going to get Frank Sinatra monetizing the video. But okay, good. That's still open. I really do love that place for steak.
What is this called? The meat market or what? Meat packing district. Yeah.
Yeah, we go to the crosswalk.
Let's do that.
So wait, you were saying financial stuff came.
Yeah. So what happens when you have a sudden adjustment? These private equity funds and leveraged investors who might have, made an investment in Russia. Some of them may have borrowed money to do that. And suddenly, let's say it's a publicly traded stock and you've got a margin account, and they say, well, look, any ruble denominated asset in your account, you think you have $100 million worth of value. Actually, it may be worth something eventually, but we're going to mark it to zero, which means that right away, instantly, you have to replace, if you've leveraged, a significant percentage of that $100 million.
Lose it.
Or you may lose everything. And
wow.
So it's not like this act by the EU and by the US is going to be without blowback
right.
before we think about what Putin may do. Now, I don't know if you've ever flown over Russia,
Well,
but,
I don't
prior
think so.
to 92,
Well, maybe to Korea.
prior to 92 or whenever it was that they changed the ability to do this, you couldn't fly over the former Soviet Union. And that made a flight from the United States, from London to Thailand, was a very long flight. You had to go around, and the fact that you can go over the poles,
You ever seen
that's a
that?
nice look, yeah. I'd
Brick
love to.
behind glass?
Yeah, of course. This is the Department of Design and Construction Field Office for New York, right? This says it all. I mean, can you imagine, like the pitch meeting where the architect says, "Hey, I got this great idea. I'm going to put a wall up, and I'll put a window over the wall, and there's no way that anybody can get between the window and the wall, and we'll win an award for architectural brilliance." I don't think so. This is
Caught
perfect.
my eye.
Let's do this. Let's have, the door here and the hall kind of like off slightly.
Why does a city office need to be in this most expensive part of town?
And this really is nice.
Oh,
The underfloor is visible.
wow. It's prime retail space according to that.
Ay, ay, ay.
Well, but you're talking about all the part of the, punishing the wife by refusing to have sex. She's not that upset about it.
Well, as we said, I think when we first started talking about the potential for war by definition is unpredictable. Now we
Right.
have, in several days, we've gone from Russia to eastern Ukraine. Suddenly it's Russia going all over Ukraine. Now it's Belarus helping. Now it's Chechnya saying, we'll send in Islamists.
To just go do what? Because now they're saying
Mayhem.
Ukrainians are killing the Chechens, I read.
Of course they are. I mean, the Ukrainians are, in the main, there's a small Jewish population, but it's mostly fanatical Christians.
So what
Orthodox
are the Chechens hoping to do there? I really know very little.
They just like to, these particular people just want to,
What is that?
it's an Amazon pop-up shop.
But it says black is remarkably original. But what does that
Celebrate black-owned small businesses selling at Amazon store during Black History Month and beyond. So Hair Rules, Herbal Goodness,
I
Miles and Milan, Southern Elegance, Red Bay Coffee are all black-owned businesses. 5 out of the millions of businesses.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this whole black-owned, white-owned, I just like going to businesses that do a good job at whatever it is that I need a business to do. And I don't care who owns it.
Yeah, exactly. Generally, who cares who owns something? What you care about is the quality of the product and the service. The
Exactly.
price. And actually, what you care most about is price. I mean, when people
Value.
money for whatever, for value. But actually, you'll find that across, if you strip us out of the mix, people who might be in the top 20%, let's say, and look at the bottom 80%, you don't care about value per se. You just, you need your children.
What you need and is it available?
Yeah, your children are hungry and they need
Right.
to be fed, and they don't give a shit whether it's,
You better
natural
not
macaroni.
bring some Swiss cheese over here, because that is
I know.
not a grilled
That's
cheese
not
sandwich.
That ain't happening. That's a fucking holes in that sandwich.
What
Why
you
would-
think this is, friend's mother? But that ain't no
That
grilled
is
cheese.
not happening. Yeah.
So now, Charles, we are approaching the Hudson, and it's super windy.
Yeah. So maybe
Is
we
Barry Diddle's Island open?
I don't know, but we could go up. Let's go up 10th Avenue.
Might be too windy for us to even do this.
Well, we'll see. We'll just. It may.
This is unlike anything we've experienced on the show before, Charles.
We may blow away with Jason. No, around the corner here, it may abruptly change.
I hope so.
That's an old. That used to be the Anvil, I think. They used to be like a really raunchy, gay, crazy ass place in the 60s and
That
70s.
building standing right
Yeah,
there. What is it now? It looks like apartments.
probably upscale condos. So see, yeah, you make the turn and then the wind goes away.
I don't know. What do you want to do? You want to go?
Yeah,
down?
let's just go up 10th.
Wait, that's the Diddle Island, though. Let's just check that real quick.
I think it's further. Is it there?
That's it, right there.
Okay.
Let's see if Barry is there.
Barry Diddle.
The wind stopped.
It won't stop. It'll pick up now.
So it's a very.
You want a sausage, egg, and cheese?
Definitely no.
Comes in a cart. could sail over there if you want. I could put my arms out and maybe I'll just like fly away.
We've got the Ice Cream Man song.
And get some Kente cloth hats. What the hell is this thing?
Ice cream truck.
See this? African trinkets. Why would you try to, Jason?
Nobody in
Why
there.
would you try to sell this stuff on the corner in the wind, on the corner of 14th and 10th?
Yeah, there's nobody
It's
around.
like
Nobody
the
tending
market
to these.
for African trinkets is immense.
Diddle Island is flourishing, Charles.
It is. I mean, I would probably be people there with clipboards saying, "Is your name on the list?"
Right.
Remember that?
Probably. It's the most obnoxious park in all of New York.
It's a new trick. I mean, it's not a new trick. It's a trick that's being used. There's a place near me called the Spaniard.
Yeah.
And now what they have is they have the line and they have the person outside with, is your name on the list? It's a fucking
Velvet
beer
rope.
joint. It's a beer joint. Hamburgers and beers. It's a very strange place because in the many decades that I've lived here, you know, somebody will try to make a go of it and it'll last 2-3 years and then it changes to something else. But it doesn't ever seem to bite. Whereas there are village institutions that just really do work.
Yeah.
And Chelsea institutions. You're probably one of the first times I walked up towards your place. You know, I hadn't spent that much time on 7th Avenue up where you are, and I noticed this thing, and I thought, gee, that's a funny name for a deli.
Oh, Korean.
Yeah, Korean. Kharian. I mean, somebody I doubt that's the person's real name. They probably thought, well, put a sign up that says Korean Deli. How do you spell Korean?
Exactly.
But that thing is, I think, out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't noticed. But so they've already gotten rid of the table that was here when it first opened.
Wasn't it
telling
over
you
there?
that you couldn't come in.
The table.
That's the exit.
Well, the people are
Yeah,
going
let's
in
see.
there.
Let's go. Maybe they've moved it up this way. It's an impressive engineering
I
kind
don't know.
of.
I think it's kind of ugly.
Well, that's aesthetics. Engineering-wise, the fact that it is here is what's impressive.
Yeah, but I mean, we've got how many homeless people on the street? We've got, you know, how many
Well, that's
derelict
just it.
buildings, and this, you know, why this is a vanity project for Barry Diddler.
That increases the value of these types of high-end luxury apartment buildings.
Of which he owns one over.
Right.
I thought he owned it. I thought it was up there somewhere.
I think that there's something that they're involved with the development of all this stuff. Hey, I didn't know there was a winery there. Did you?
No. It's another restaurant not to go to. Put that on my list of restaurants not to go to.
just
I haven't been to a restaurant in
in-
over a year.
Yeah, exactly. We're not allowed in them. Now, they said that they're getting rid of the mask mandate at school. Was that New York or someplace else?
I think that, you know, it's gotten to the point where this, whatever they say, I don't care.
Right.
Look at that thing.
The spinning, hypnotic, weird thing.
That's the kind of thing. That's how Biden gets this. That's his teleprompter.
Right.
You're going the EMF, the Glade.
Well, so let's just think back over the short timeline here, because it started with Biden calling up Zelensky and saying, get ready to get sacked. And Zelensky was like, wait a minute, what the hell are you talking about? And,
That's right.
And Russians were also saying, like, yeah, what the hell are you talking about? And so it was sort of like Biden was the only one who knew. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And now we got John Cullen finds all these documents. There's a lot of people talking about the, what does that say?
After a bit, just resting. Can't go on the
Always
lawn.
resting. All right, it doesn't say wear a mask, so that's fine.
We're going to pretend we're Japanese.
Well, but they have all of these hypnotic things all over the place.
Probably
What is up with that?
recharging the chips in your brain.
Well, no, this is probably, I won't say what it is, but there's these weird parks made by weird rich guys that
There's the downtown Whitney is, I guess, over there. Maybe that is
I've
the
been
building.
in there, actually. That's at the end of the High Line, and it's really cool. There's an awesome, like, outdoor space on that you could walk. When I was building my 3D 360 virtual reality camera, I tested it up there on the High Line quite a bit. I have some pretty amazing virtual reality 3D photographs of the stairs and everything outside that Whitney Museum.
Wow. So this, I mean, I suppose it is interesting to see the views back that way. And remember, as a child, I remember this entire area, there was a derelict, used to be a roadway, but they let it go. And they didn't take it down for a long time. And it was really, there was nothing over here, obviously.
Well, I mean, from a strictly park standpoint, if it weren't created by a psychotic weirdo, it's nice.
So you like it, huh?
They have an amphitheater here.
It's called an amph.
But I mean, again, that to me, it's part of this
Another
whole,
one of those.
right, this whole Greek mythology that they all love so much with the, weird stuff in Untermeyer Park, and what are all these hypnotic things around the place with an amphitheater on the water? I mean, and then, they have restricted access to this, and
What could go wrong here?
where are those kids' parents?
Right here. Just leave it alone.
The parents look like they're 15.
They probably are 15.
Jeez.
But now you get to see a little bit. There's a sign there to vote.
For what?
Does
Oh yeah, look at that. It's just like, just vote. Doesn't matter. No one's running for anything. Just vote.
I've registered to vote, and now I want to vote. Yeah, look, here we have
vote for.
a lot of interesting vistas. Back in the day, this used to be, ocean-going ships would be docked in here, in the 50s anyway.
Someone wants to ask me, Charles, would you call this picturesque or picturesque?
That's not a language. That's not in the English language, picture.
And I just said, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. Now look at that, FDNY boat.
Yeah, I'm sure that's, ships go on fire, so you've got to...
But is it always waiting there, or is it doing something?
I don't know. The donut shop is over there on 14th and 7th. It's a clue.
Huh.
You got to park near a donut shop.
Now, the fire department I don't have a beef with. It's
But this, you see, this street level traffic, they had traffic underneath the over roadway. But the over roadway blocked all the, none of these buildings would have been attractive, and now many of them are extremely expensive apartment buildings. Down to Freedom Spire and, the yacht where we first met.
Yeah.
The
you're reminding me of something, Charles.
What's that? You want to go? Let's go this way.
Sure. Should we go to the highest point in Diddle Land?
All right.
See, as far as the diddle eye can see.
Hey, diddle.
I guess we've been up here before when the place first opened. I don't even remember.
I don't think we've been up here. We were near here. They denied us entry.
There was one time that I came here. I don't remember if I went all the way
No, I
up.
wasn't with you.
That's possible.
I would remember this.
Difficult to remember. But as I walk around the city, Charles, it seems like fewer people are sticking to the masks. The mandate has been dropped.
Got to wear a mask. Biden saying, wear a mask.
Yeah. How does that look, though, to put a lid on the weekend when one of the biggest crises in all of human history is unfolding, and then do an interview with some dope on a podcast?
Well, think about how much worse it would be if you were actually working. I mean, in some ways, it's good you put a lid on it.
Maybe just kind of close his eyes, hope it fixes itself over the weekend.
Yeah, he's got his custom-made diapers going through the machine, getting cleaned.
Go to sleep. Everything's better in the morning.
Exactly.
He's Joe Biden.
Resident of the United States. First resident of the United States. He's not the president, he's the resident.
It's a fun view from up here. You can see the
is.
Empire State Building.
It looks pretty close. So we're 14th Street, right?
Well, it's only on 34th.
But that's 20 blocks north of it? Wow. Huh.
It's a good view of both.
Yeah. And all that architecture there, that's all, very different and modern. I can't understand buying an apartment in that thing that looks like it's going to fall down. It's a building that was made with leftover parts from many other
Lego bricks or something.
projects. Yeah, you can have the leftovers. And they're going to say, you know, this is the exciting design of a blind Czechoslovakian architect who lost the use of his arms.
Architecting just with his toes.
Exactly, and you know, you should pay extra for the privilege of living in this refuse pile.
I refuse.
Refuse, Nick. Got it, buddy.
Bilionário, assim. Muito mais você já é.
Sounds like Portuguese. Yes? Fala português? That's
don't.
all I know how to say.
But you don't.
But, you know, people will now say I'm a Brazilian spy, Charles.
You are,
Because when I said hello to somebody in Russian, they said that I must be.
of course.
Well, it's very difficult to understand how people could be so irresponsible in doing these things. I mean, I'm talking about Victoria Nuland and all these people in the
And the Biden cabinet.
Biden cabinet, and no one is asking any questions. Like, isn't it weird that everybody from the Ukrainian embassy was testifying against Trump at that second impeachment, and that we've got people accusing the Bidens of doing all kinds of illegal things with money in Ukraine? Here, look at that, Charles. That's you could jump around on that and it makes sound. It's like big.
That's what Biden does every morning. Gets up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's Biden's calisthenics in the morning. It's a nice beet frappuccino.
So,
Beet juice frappuccino.
Charles, is it the wrong thing for us to delve into sort of scenarios and predictions of what direction things could take starting tomorrow?
Not at all. I mean, I think we'll have a very good clue tonight what's going to happen, because we're actually almost to midnight in Kyiv right now, and you know, as slow as it's been for Putin to do whatever he's trying to do in Ukraine, this week it'll be slower unless he moves decisively tonight. Now, supposedly they were going to have talks without precondition amongst Ukrainian representatives and Russian representatives somewhere near Belarus, and I don't know if those talks happened or didn't happen, but you know, there is one scenario where magic is achieved and they decide in Ukraine that they'll credibly give up the idea of being part of NATO, and with that bone.
But isn't that really just the issue is not really the issue?
Right.
I mean, it seems to me like this is another one of these proxy war, like we're
Right.
not doing anything kind of things where they arm rebels and arm crazy people and they create a coup and then overthrow the government and install somebody who Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and all of them like.
Right. So we're just going through a scenario. So there's a scenario where, you know, they have achieved peace in our time or whatever, and the hostilities can cease, and things can maybe go back to normal. Maybe they don't need to sanction Putin as aggressively. That's a scenario. I think the more likely scenario is they don't accomplish anything in these talks.
Right.
And then the question becomes, does Putin have the support of his military or not? Now, the West is trying to spin the idea with these demonstrations like the one we saw in Washington Square Park and the ones that you can watch on TV around the world, that there's universal outrage at Putin and Russia for what they're doing in Ukraine, and that inevitably, as happened over years in the U.S., Putin will lose the support of the public for this Ukrainian venture and either have to leave or be removed from office. That's kind of the thing that's being spun by the Andrew Mitchell, MSNBC, CNN types.
Right.
I think I was back and forth with some of our international friends today, and one of them in Russia told me that they don't give a shit about the sanctions. They don't really affect the average Russian. They've been under sanction before. They expect they'll be under sanction again. This is more of the same. And to get Putin, you have to get inside Russia, which I don't think anybody is going to do that easily.
Right.
From amongst this crowd, because the anti-Putin forces in Russia are well known by Putin.
Right.
And Putin, for now, has control of the security apparatus. So it may be that all of this talk about what they're going to do to him, and the failure to even consider his points of view just says, all right, Machiavelli said in, I forget where, in essence said that if you're going to administer pain, you may as well do it, in so many words, all at once, just do it right away.
Right.
And get over it.
So there's no doubt.
So don't pussyfoot, don't eat the stage. We've learned. Do you want
to go this way?
Whatever you want.
Look at the sun over there.
Okay. And I think there was that homeless person.
Well, and also, you know what? Further up here. Nah, let's keep going this way. We'll get back over kind of into the city.
I think we remember that there was a homeless person, right? See if they're still living there, right next to the police department.
Oh, right. I don't see him right now.
But, so there's a school of thought. I mean, what we see here is that by Biden and the Americans just turning tail and, making speeches and pronouncements and giving the podcast interview, but there's no American presence in Ukraine. What we're doing is just as we did in Afghanistan and the Middle East. We're abdicating responsibility. We're just saying, it's not our problem. You guys figure it out. And that Putin does have the ability here. There's close. The biggest economy in in Europe, counting Russia, is Germany. And
they just said there's a huge military buildup that they're going to do now.
Which I'm not happy about. To see a German build, that's not something that I think is going to work out well in the end. But the facts are that there are deep economic ties that have now been flourishing for long periods of time between Germany and Russia. And those economic interests are going to say, this is fantastic. We pushed America off the playing field. Forget General Electric getting contracts in Ukraine. We're going to get them for Siemens. And
right.
So you want to go up this way or you want to go up 10th?
Yeah, no.
And so, there's a scenario that Putin, who is, Biden is to say that he knows anything about foreign relations because he was on chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and that he's a senator and he's been briefed, he was vice president.
Saying I know how to cook because I went to a restaurant.
Yeah, Putin was in the KGB and may not even be the right term. He was trained as a KGB guy. He's crafty. And they certainly have files. Now I guess it's the FSB or something, not the KGB, but that's Biden's. Should we mail that to him?
Yeah.
His pacifier?
It's his pacification.
But you got to believe that the Russians have a thick file on Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Strobe Talbot and the Brookings Institute.
Right.
And they have a thick file on Hunter Biden and what was going on in Burisma and all that. By the way, our friend Bob Bishop in Texas has a very good piece in Gateway Pundit today that's been picked up by a lot of other outlets about he went into a court case, the court case against Devin Archer and certain unindicted co-conspirators, one of whom may be Hunter. There's a lot of material on the court site, the Pacer site, I think. He went through that and he discovered all kinds of very incriminating information that is not in the Schweitzer book and puts additional context around what Hunter...
Hang on a second, Charles. I don't want people to miss this. Let's head right. It's just too windy over here. It's settling down a little bit. So Bob Bishop went into the court documents and found stuff that was not in Peter Schweitzer.
He's got this Gateway Pundit piece which has links to the evidence that shows all kinds of suspicious payments, amounts, dates. And basically what was really going on there, the reason that Hunter and Devin were collecting the money they were collecting was purely and simply that Joe Biden was point person on Ukraine and point person on China.
Well,
And-
think about that, though. If he's the point person on Ukraine and China, and now we got a problem with
Ukraine and China.
biolabs having leaks out of China, and suddenly we've discovered that the United States has a ton of biolabs in Ukraine, I kind of want to learn more about what was going on.
Right. What was the quid and what was the quo, and how did the quid pro quo work?
And what if Putin already knows and he's destroying or capturing or doing whatever
Right.
to these biolabs to prevent COVID-19 2.0 or whatever?
Stupid 22. COVID 2019 and 20. And
The stupid is, honestly, Charles, the saddest thing for me is this feeling that just such a huge portion of the country is just irrevocably stupid. Yeah.
Right. Well, this period, the weekend period, not a lot of, and most people are busy on the weekend. If you have a family, you're dealing with errands and your children and whatever, and so that includes journalists. So
Are we allowed there without a mask now?
Probably
they have
not.
masks.
There's a guy with no mask.
Let's see if they still have those people blocking the entrance. You want to go up to the High Line?
We can if you want. We haven't done that.
It might be, maybe we do that next time. We're kind of running out of time. But that's the exit. No, they don't have the sign there for masks anymore. We could go to the High Line maybe next week.
Okay. Let's cross the street. We'll wait for.
Sure.
I guess we could go. Artichoke basils. You been there?
I haven't, but
I
that's
don't like. Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly like artichokes, but
Well, but-
artichoke pizza. I mean,
I don't think all the pizza has artichokes on it, but that
I think
is-
it's instead of dough, they use artichokes.
No, I don't think that's right. It's a regular pizza place, but
Is it?
they do offer an artichoke pizza.
Look, they tore down this building here. Right? This used to be,
Yeah.
I don't know what,
It's
but
Crunch Fitness or something.
it's now definitely Crunch.
It's crunched.
No fitness, just Crunch.
And then this thing is called the Lantern House or something. That's Barry Diller, isn't it?
I don't remember which is which. But this is, all, in time, all of these older buildings will be crunched, and you'll have monstrosities like these modern ones coming up.
It's pretty. I mean, it looks like if that was your apartment, you're definitely rich.
And or stupid. Here's the diner. Old-fashioned diner. I actually like these old-fashioned diners. Fewer and fewer of them
Smells like
around.
bacon.
What?
The diner smells like bacon.
That's how fitting. It must be an authentic diner. So yeah, what would you say this neighborhood is? I mean, this is for people who don't.
This is Chelsea, isn't it?
Well, this is far west Chelsea, and this is probably many of the owners of these apartment buildings don't live here as a guest. I mean, this
Well,
is
right. That's something that was being said in this video about that 425 Park, that they're just, places to
park money. Yeah.
Right. It's more difficult. Right. It's more difficult to flip a switch. You know who that is, right?
No.
It's the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski.
Oh, really?
Although actually, Hawkins is amazing on this too, because it's not Ted Kaczynski. That image is, I forget the guy's name, but it's not Ted Kaczynski. But see, this is the Unabomber. When you see Ted Kaczynski compared to that sketch, and then the guy who Hawkins says it is,
Looks kind of Hispanic, that guy.
well, right. It looks nothing like Ted Kaczynski, and it looks exactly like this other guy.
And there's that place where you can go and see the view, and
The
unfortunately,
Edge.
people jump off of it.
Didn't somebody do that? Kid
Yeah,
fell
many
off?
people have done that, sadly. I don't think we'll walk anywhere near there. Walking along Splat.
Yeah.
I told you I saw somebody, I think was pushed off the 6th floor of a building. Hit.
There was something that I remembered before that the audience is probably thinking, damn it, Jason is so ADD, he can't keep his thoughts straight. But you mentioned something about the first time we did an interview and when we met down at the World Financial Center.
Right.
So things are happening that I'm not ready to discuss yet that have caused me to think, Charles, I need to go back into the Crowdsource the Truth archives
extensive article.
Well, we've discussed this a little bit, but what most people might not realize is that the very first Charles Ortel crowdsourced the truth interview, it's never been seen.
That's true.
It's one of the lost interviews. And something is developing in my mind that is causing me to want to go back to that material and watch it.
Yeah.
And what I may do, and not
Put it
today,
out. Yeah.
because I got a lot of things on my plate, but I'm going to go and see if I can find the original elements of that and edit it together. The reason it was never released, Charles, was because
Different technique, yeah.
Well, right, it was shot so early in the process that I had not yet developed this fine and fantastic, technique that we utilize to do all of our shows, and it was a very cumbersome
I
process.
remember that required a lot of your after
And
post-production.
Something did not quite go right when I did it, so we opted for another interview rather than putting that one out. But I want to go back to it to have actually what was said and view the reactions of the participants in that interview on the day, because you recall who was there. It was George Webb and
Trish.
Patricia Negron.
Right.
And I have a new understanding of what those people intended to do by interacting with me. So I'm going to look into restoring that, and I'll let people know if I do find the material and I'm able to do it. It's going to be released on subscribestar.com /crowdsource the truth and patreon.com /crowdsource the truth, because the viewer sponsors who help me keep this show going, they deserve something a little extra.
Sure.
And there's a huge sponsor exclusive library on there.
Yeah, that's a bookstore that
Yeah.
that really negative stuff to say about Trump, I think. Oh,
It's good to see a little kid without a mask on.
there's a little kid bicycle graveyard or something. See it?
Oh yeah, the big wheel. Yeah, the kid. It's like anytime a child sees a dead toy, they're like, "That's sad."
Oh, I know. Tell me, I remember, was it the voice that did Kermit the Frog, or the voice that did, I forget who it was on
Jim Henson was the voice
the
of
Muppets, yeah. When he died, I mean, my kid took it hard.
I gotta say, he was the first celebrity, like first person I never knew who, when I heard that he died, I was like, I was sad.
Now, who goes to a diner at 4:30? What are you eating?
Hungry people.
But right, it's,
Oh, this dog goes. Hello, dog.
right. I mean, it's an odd time to
That's
go
a
to
well-behaved dog.
go for a meal, right? I mean, it's
Do you think that dog will be disrupted by this dog?
For me,
Do-
he's friendly.
But I don't know that dog. He's just a dog.
Oh, okay.
Not mine.
it looks like a wolf,
Looks friendly, but looks very
wolf-like.
prepared to interact. You never know what dogs might do.
That's the big dog. It's Biden.
Yeah,
dog.
10% for the big dog.
Yeah, so here we are on 23rd. Yeah, now they're getting at it. What do we got here? It's
Don
Italian-
Giovanni.
Pizza.
See, all these outdoor things are not really.
They can't
It's
be.
fairly warm today.
They can't be making money.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's got to be run by the federal government, not making money.
So I guess, Charles, we're getting pretty close to the end of our line here for today. Was there anything else you wanted to cover before
Well-
that guy almost runs us over?
Well, what do you want to go up to 25th and over, or you want to go
Whatever you want to
down
do.
23rd? It's up to you.
I don't mind, Charles.
You decide.
We can
Direct.
go to 25th. That looks like a really nice complex on the roof over there.
Yeah.
Whoops. We're getting honked at.
Well, I've on the Clinton Foundation, I've been really writing now. This is a summary, and when you go back through and you put together, we do all these videos, but it's not organized. It's not like, we're going to go, in the early ones with the slideshow, we would go take a topic and drill into it and finish it.
Oh, and also Google told me, F you, we're not giving you your channel back. So
So nice.
That happened.
That's not good. So, but on this Clinton Foundation, one thing that's kind of interesting is that in the first audit, June 9th, 2006, was the publication date for materials concerning 4 and 5, and they really thought they could pull a fast one, and that is we've shown viewers the audit itself, and for what's called the statement of activities, which is like an income statement, they have the one for 2005 has the side captions and the numbers. There's 4 columns.
Oh yeah, right. And then they take them out.
And the one for 2004 has no side captions. So
Right.
you might.
Hard to reconcile.
Well, and you wouldn't notice, therefore, that there's a side caption in 2005 that relates to 2000 events prior to December 31st, 2003. And what they do is they just sweep in and say, oh yeah, this new work that we've done here, we've discovered $15 million of earnings, which we're not going to
Wow.
explain prior to December.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
It's like finding $20 in the dryer.
Right, right. And so, oh boy, and so, let's make it right. And so, now
That's
this,
a really unique dog. Is this a boxer pit bull?
It's Boxer and Boston Terrier.
Wow.
Yeah, rare breed.
Nice looking dog. Sorry, Charles.
it's okay. Time for a dog for Jason. But anyway,
Not
so
in New York,
so
though.
15 million is the sum total of the earnings that they decide to put on the balance sheet, put in the income statement with no explanation where it came from. But reading around the lines and looking, it seems to me that this relates primarily to HIV/AIDS work done prior to December 31st, 2003. Now, before December 31st, 2003, they certainly had no authority to do any HIV/AIDS work.
They still don't.
Right, and that earnings amount consists of roughly 17 million of time-restricted net earnings. In other words,
Sorry, Charles.
what?
What is this building?
Huh?
This building,
It's for somebody's personal home. I don't know.
is it?
Yeah.
It's a strange thing that they've got here with the...
No, that's, somebody likes this kind of gate or whatever. Maybe that's their...
So they've...
So it's
Their
the
earnings.
15 million of earnings, 15 and a half or 15.3, is 17 and change of accounts receivable, contributions receivable,
Right.
netted against an accumulated loss of nearly $2 million. Now, it's impossible to have a loss of $2 million without,
First having earned it?
without having support from some entity. If you're operating around the world fighting HIV and AIDS, you can't go into a country with no assets and say, I'm now going to lose money.
Right.
Right,
Where
yeah.
did you get the money to lose?
Right. So first, the 15 million and the split are not explained and don't make any sense, and likely are just a confession of illegal activities because you weren't authorized for those purposes. And the money used for those purposes was what we call in charity land a diversion. And diversion is not an embezzlement necessarily. It's just if you're authorized just to do work in Little Rock to put up an archive, you can't take money even temporarily
And divert it.
and use it for an unauthorized purpose like HIV, however noble that purpose may be. In this case, it's pronounced, I think, is it ignoble or ignoble?
Yeah, you're going to know better than me.
Ignoble. Ignoble, no. But anyway, so this is a confession of charity fraud, I think. And it's quite interesting that it would be buried away. Let's just go here for a second.
It's going to monetize the video.
Right, well, it's gonna just stand here. We'll look at the NYPD lights. This is public assisted housing here, whole complex there.
Right.
And sadly, today this space, if you knocked it down and put up, real condos or whatever,
Well, what
probably.
about, where would these people go?
Well, you could find another place for them, but you pay them off. But this is billions of dollars, right? This space.
When was this stuff built?
Probably in the 70s, 60s, 70s. I don't know. They knocked down tenements and put up.
And this was kind of like an area of town that nobody would go to then.
Well, it was tenements probably. This whole area was very rough even in the 80s.
Except they're replacing a lot of windshields.
So there's the this $15 million that they can't explain. So then you go and you say, all right, the most important expense item in a charity is what are called program service expenses. Careful.
Right. Yeah.
So I went and I said, all right, what were the program service expenses for all of 2002 and all of 2003? They say that they found now 15 million of earnings. That's, beyond the expenses. 15 million that fell to the bottom line for activities through December 31st, 2003 that wasn't accounted for. What would you guess the total program service expenses for all of 2 and all of 3 combined were?
Going to be some number that makes it impossible.
3 million.
Yeah, so how did they
Careful.
have 15?
This way, Jason.
No, I thought you were making it right.
No, I don't want to go anywhere
I
near
don't know.
those guys. I want to go back towards 7th.
Yeah, sketch.
Very sketchy. So to give you a scale, I mean, in theory, the program service expenses for 2 and 3 were authorized, but in the filing in New York State, where it's asked when did you commence activities in New York State, the idiot Kessel signs a document that says they commenced activities in August of 2001 in New York. So what exactly were they doing in 2001? There was Little Rock is where they were.
Somebody's got loud music. Everybody's trying to monetize the video, Charles.
Right. So, what were these authorized purposes? When were they authorized? How were they authorized? Where's the record that they were authorized? And in simple truth, they were never authorized. Then when you bore into the details of the spending, program service expenses, remember the accounting standard, FASB, I think it's 117 at the time, explains what program service expenses are and what they're not and how you have to account for them and how important they are.
Who gave that memo?
It's the Financial Accounting Standards Board, FASB. So it's in our world, in the charity world, the accounting world, that's I don't want to say the Bible, but it's the document, the controlling document, or a number of controlling documents are there. And so you really have to think hard about, are these actual expenses of the programs and not overhead?
Right.
There's 2 categories of overhead, management in general and fundraising. And those categories in total are thought to be excessive if they're more than 15% of total revenue, total expenses. So program service should be 85%. So then you look at that, and when other charities have had their charters revoked, what the IRS does is a facts and circumstance test. They go and they look at the minutes, the financials, and they say, what were these people actually doing? What was this organization actually doing, and who was doing it?
Stealing money.
And is there any evidence that it was an organization? So we know it wasn't. There were articles. There were no articles by June 9th, 2006. They had gutted them April 23rd, 2005. They gutted the bylaws 2005 in April. In June, they'd done a fake audit, June 30th, 2005. Then they do this attempted real audit of an organization that actually didn't exist. But when you look in 2003, one tell that I've seen used by the IRS to revoke charters is when you look in the expense categories and you discover that there are no employees. If there are
I know a 501c3 like that.
Right now, you can have some organizations, a small one might get together and everybody basically is just contributing their time, and you can't take a deduction for that, and you're not being paid, even reimbursed for expenses. So there are small organizations that do that, but not something as big as the Clinton Foundation. And worse, a big no-no is when in 2002 for the Clinton Foundation, they list out other salaries and wages of about $500,000, and then you get to the payroll tax line and they say they had spent nothing on payroll taxes.
What about all those? Oh, so they just gave out $500,000 not on the payroll and didn't pay tax?
You can't do that.
Of course not.
That's strictly illegal. And actually, I'm aware of, that's one of the ways I was able to get somebody who stole money from me. That is to get my money back. They take an extremely dim view of people who employ people and cut them a check. The check has to say that they took payroll taxes out because if you're an employee and you don't get any payroll taxes, Social Security taken out of your check.
That's the whole reason why I hired a payroll company, because I was like, I don't want to deal with any of this.
Right.
Just give it to the payroll company.
Right. So to see in 2002 that no payroll taxes, and remember in this time frame, the vaunted FBI, specifically Mueller himself, was briefed in 2002 on the status of the Clinton Foundation. We have a copy of the memo in the FBI vault file, and Comey was involved as the Southern District, New York U.S. Attorney leading the charge. So, I mean, they should have seen this. The investigation went all the way till early 2005. They should have seen these documents that I see and said, no, wait a minute. You have this organization has no employees in program services, yet you say the biggest expense in program services, which was a total, I think, of $2.2 million in that year, was $1.86, I think, million for projects. Just said projects. No explanation of what they were. And you can't do that.
I think destroying Ukraine might have been the project.
That's right. Well, that's when they started going into Ukraine. It was about 2004.
Well,
And Russia, using money from Norway and other donors.
wow.
So,
This is another one of their world-building plans. and-
world-destroying plans.
Well, but the problem is they don't know what they're doing, so it's going to wind up destroying.
Right.
And they blame everybody else for what they're doing.
Maybe we should do a children's book on this. Billy destroys the world. Hilly destroys the world.
Be very upsetting for children and adults alike.
And we could do, the Chelsea character would be a vomiting, diarrhea,
Burning the
spewing.
candles at both ends.
Right. Doll, you pull this string and she vomits on you. Pull the other string and
Little vomit Chelsea.
the vomiteers. The three vomiteers.
Someone will make that toy.
Well, yeah. Well, as we speak, I liked my time in Ukraine. I hope maybe someday I'll be able to go there. I've never been to Moscow or St. Petersburg. But as we speak right now over there, serious business. I don't think the attention is turning to peacemaking right now. I think it's
Well, they're supposed to
ass-whooping.
have some conversation in Belarus or something.
I just don't think that goes
I
anywhere.
agree. I don't think so.
Talk. It's cheap.
Well, because, I mean, Ukraine is not addressing any of the points. They're saying Putin is lying and
Right.
you're trying to destroy our place and get out. And he's saying, well, you've got these kind of like Nazi troublemaking terrorist cells. And he hasn't come out and said biolabs. Why doesn't he announce that?
I don't know, but I'm just.
Maybe we're wrong in our evidence.
Right, but as we speak,
I don't think so.
over there, bombs are about to drop or peace is about to break out in financial markets in about an hour and a half or so.
Our bombs are about to drop?
No, in about an hour.
Oh,
Right, it's almost 5 now. Midnight over there.
yes, it's going to be, it's 2 minutes to 5.
There you go. Gosh.
Oh, I've been looking at that, and definitely the sun stays up later now. I've been looking at that, countdown to midnight doomsday clock.
Right. Where is it?
Well, it's at 100 seconds, but I personally think we're closer than that.
Right.
And I also think that thing is just something to attract people's attention so they can have, I don't know, somebody's blog, some scientists.
So I don't own this company, but I did buy furniture from Stickley and Audi, and I highly recommend it. I bought it
I think
40
it's a
years
crazy
ago.
expensive place, isn't it?
Again, you can buy cheap furniture, it falls apart, but the furniture I bought 40 years ago still works. Pretty nice, actually. It's in storage.
And with that, Charles, I definitely hope that everybody in Ukraine who's not a Nazi is safe.
Right, and the
And,
garbage pile.
hope that this ends without us getting nuked.
Me too. And this garbage pile is impressive. This is
Yeah, it's from Whole Foods or my apartment building or something.
Mixture
Somebody's
of the
thrown
above.
out a couch. But, people can support the show by becoming a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. There were 2 really important broadcasts on Friday from David Hawkins and John Cullen. If you haven't seen them, get onto Patreon and Subscribestar. And Wednesday's broadcast with Lee Stranahan, also really important if people want to understand what's going on in Ukraine and evaluate some of the other facts that you're not being told on the mainstream news. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.